I think I would pick to go back to Egypt. Well, I just am so obsessed with the idea that we lost information about their civilization and that maybe they were more advanced than us in certain ways.
Like women had rights, but they weren't required to work.
I don't think that one exists.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Well, good morning. I'm frozen. There we go. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm situated at a weird angle so that I didn't have the sun lighting up half of my face today.
I like it. It's very angelic when that happens.
Makes me look nuts. Okay, well, we're gonna do it again, folks. Let's have Replit website tell us what we doing.
AI is officially controlling our lives. I'm just kidding. Only in this little one moment.
I'd like to think that the universe still controls the internet, so that's who I'm saying is picking.
Like it.
Ooh. Okay, winner chicken dinner is if you could be born in another era and as another person / gender / race, what would you choose and why?
This is interesting. In a different era and a possibly different gender. What was the other things?
So basically, like, which time frame, if you wanted to be born in a different one, what would you pick? And then you have cards available to you that if you wanted to change your, like, who you are, your gender, your race, like you could change those things if you wanted, or you can go back or forward as yourself.
This is interesting. Do you have any initial thoughts?
Well, I feel like saying I want to choose to be a different race sounds weird, so I'm probably going to leave that alone, even though I'm the one that created this actual question.
What is the era where, like, women had rights, but they weren't required to work?
I don't think that one exists.
Which is the one where they have rights and socially they don't have to work.
I think that's called this era if you marry someone rich.
That's true. But you know what I mean? Like, honestly, I would probably go back. Okay, I've concluded. I would stay me as much as I would.
Went to Atlantis.
No, but that would be fun. But it also seems a little chaotic. I'm not sure what goes on there, really. As much as I'd like to be a man for like one day, or maybe in my next life, for this exercise, I'd like to stay a woman. And I'd like to stay myself, but I will go back. And maybe I could be like born only like 20 years before. Just like shove me back a couple decades. That way, first of all, the 90s were the best decade. Hands down. I'll argue that with anyone. But we were young, and I'd love to see what that felt like as an adult. Maybe I changed my mind. But I also feel like I would give up some equality to socially not have to worry about finances as a woman and just be at home with the kids. I know that sounds really trad wife of me, but like, it would just be interesting to go about my life on a completely different path than what I've chosen for this one.
Yeah.
And I feel like I only need to go a couple decades back because don't go me too much farther because I can't deal with the poops in the street and the diseases and the no running water. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to go back.
You could go back to before women had the right to vote in the Victorian era and be a rich socialite. They didn't work, but you know, you were only allowed to like touch somebody's wrist before you got married if you didn't want to be scandalized. So I don't know how worth it that is.
I also feel like they probably have a lot of, I don't want to wear a corset, you know, like, is that the age of, you know, that's too much, a little too far. So like, just maybe squeeze me back a couple more. That way I can maybe choose a different path as a woman and enjoy the 90s with full adult brain. I don't know. That's just spitballing, but I feel like that's what I would pick at this moment.
If we're not going into different dimensions.
I mean, we could.
I know I'm on a multi-dimension kick, which we can discuss if we have time at the end of this. I think I would pick to go back to Egypt.
Wow, you're going somewhere else.
Like the peak of the Egyptian era.
Okay.
I would like to go back as whatever will blend in there. I'm fine to go back as a woman, but if my physical appearance could blend in with the whatever they looked like back then, that would be preferable.
So why Europe? I mean, why Egypt? I don't know why I said Europe.
Well, I just am so obsessed with the idea that we lost information about their civilization and that maybe they were more advanced than us in certain ways. And I'm also, what is it that just happened? There was some alignment of multiple planets, which also I think aligns with the one of the pyramids.
That
That
sounds right.
happens does it happen every year?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't really need to Google it. It's not that important. But it's just fascinating. What are the chances? Not what are the chances? It's not the right way to put it. I'm just really fascinated by the fact that they had the ability to calculate all of that stuff and to create something so crazy that we can't do today. And I'm so nosy about it. And it seems like it doesn't seem like it would have been that bad back then.
I mean, probably. Well, while you were talking about this, it brought up a different scenario for me. It's like I could go back and like just live in a village with no internet and no nothing and
Yeah.
deal with some things, but like just have the simplicity of life. But that would be very fascinating to understand what was going on out there. Like, what if, yeah, they either had more technology or they had more powers, or maybe they were in communication with something that was powerful. I don't know. I always kind of go that route. Yeah. Super interesting.
I'm so nosy. So nosy. Well, I tried to Google something about this and the stuff aligning, and it says it was fake news, but
Oh, what?
whatever.
Well,
I know that there are things with lining up with the pyramids and their calculation. The fact that they could just build those things the way that they built them, aren't they like, is it like true, like north, south? I don't know. The more I listen about them, the more fascinating it is. And it just seems like whatever technology or sophistication or math that they had back then would just be fascinating. It seems like their quality of life might have been pretty decent versus never would I ever want to go back to the medieval times where everyone was just pooping in the road.
No, never, never. I know what you're talking about. Well, and I know that they also say like the pyramids are at almost like a perfect 90-degree angle. They're like lined up perfectly with
Yeah.
the Orion's belt or something, all three of them, something like that. But the other crazy thing is, what's the structure? That's another like, what is it, seventh wonder of the world or whatever? But it lines up with the North Star for the whole year. It stays in this one little hole in the wall or whatever it is. I can't remember. Is that the headstone? Is that the word?
I have no idea.
Well, regardless, it begs the question, why doesn't it move? Okay, when we're flying through space and spinning. Okay, but take that off the table. Maybe that's the story for a different day. Okay, one other route we could take. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to do multiple different options, but this is
I mean, we're
opening up
allowed to
a
do
great
whatever we
conversation.
want. This is the
Exactly.
perfect conversation to be having when you're sleep deprived.
Which at this moment I am.
I know, it's perfect.
If I'm kind of afraid of the future, not gonna lie, I feel like it could get real weird real fast, but it would be kind of cool if I had to be there at a time where they had time travel, safe time travel, and I could go back to all of these weird things, like put me back in Atlantis, put me in the pyramids, put me on the moon or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that would be cool to be able to hop around and see all the things I have questions about.
I briefly considered the future and then that freaked me out. So that's why I went with the pyramids. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just obsessed. I was also listening to, I don't know, one of the fancy space scientists. I don't know what ologist that is, but they're talking about just modern times today. We don't really have an appreciation for space and for what's out there in the galaxy and the universe and how small we are and the humility that comes with it, because most of us live in cities or somewhat urban areas where the light pollution is such that you don't really see the star. And then we're all inside at night looking at devices. So it doesn't really leave room for sitting and contemplating our space in space. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. So how cool would it be to go back in time to a population of people who seemed pretty obsessed with the stars and were sophisticated, at least in some things. And it would be cool if you could go back and retain your current knowledge and know that you were back in time and just observe. I just think that would be the ultimate sociology experiment, especially because everyone says that, what is it? The fire of was it the Alexandrian library where they think we lost a lot of information or like historical information? Wait, are you muted?
Yep. Okay. I was going to ask, thanks. I was going to ask, would you go all the way back to see what like the flood was like? No. Did you hear that? Like they found something that resembles Noah's Ark, which would be in the spot that biblically it would be in, like in real life. This is very interesting. There's so many different possibilities. I do feel as though the only scenario which I would go forward is but that still scares me, even time travel, because if I can time travel, everyone can time travel. And that means we already have the answer. So maybe I don't need to go there. I'd rather go back.
Yeah.
Unless I'm in a place where like maybe they do have more technology or we don't understand how advanced they were, I don't think I want to go back too far because like the disease and unsanitary stuff makes me nervous. But yeah, overall, I'd tend to go backwards. Maybe be a male, but for right now, if I'm feeling just like I would stay myself.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my only other thing now that we're talking about this this is not, I'm not a scientist, so nobody should take this seriously. But whatever rabbit hole of podcast listening I've been down recently with this whole space thing, because then I was looking at a bunch of the different telescope photos on NASA's website because it's so fun. But they are able to get really far out and do all this stuff and they don't really see any signs of life. But what if that's because they're not in this dimension? So what if you stay in this dimension, you could just keep going into space and there's not going to be anything there? You have to go through some kind of like a portal to access another dimension or another timeline. And maybe that's where stuff's coming from and we don't know how to do that. Doesn't that feel more likely? How have they not found anything yet?
I thought they had. I thought they found like water and like organisms.
Well, yeah, but nothing that's coming here on a spaceship and dicking around in the ocean with the Air Force.
You think, this is, again, unscientific person over here, but like if this is our solar system and then they've gone really far out, like there's still this much universe to explore. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe it's just like spread out a little bit more.
But then but how would they not have, if you're intelligent life, how would you not have signs of yourself somewhere along the hopping path to here?
Well, my other theory is that they have found signs of life and they just haven't told us yet because they don't want to freak us out.
Well, I think the government has. I just am saying like all these space people. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just obsessed with the idea that maybe we're alone in this dimension of the universe. But that doesn't mean we're alone in the dimensions of consciousness.
I guess, how do you get to the other dimension? Is that
I don't know, maybe you go through a black hole.
Even though everyone says it's going to rip you to shreds, like down to your atoms, but at the same time, it would be the perfect like portal.
Maybe it rips you down to your shreds of your atoms, and then it puts you back together on something else as you come out the other side. I have no idea. All of this is complete
the only thing that can go through is like your soul, and then it reshapes your body and your things on the way back in or out. But
I just love imagining. Oh my God, dude. I like imagining all the things. I think there's something healthy about the unknown and just talking through random things. It's not that I'm all in, hook, line, sinker, gonna stand on the corner and evangelize about it. It's like, oh, what if that were the case? That there's like portals, and what if beings are that our government has allegedly seen and some of this UAP stuff, what if that's interdimensional versus intergalactic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great question. Wait, off topic slightly, but not really. Would you go back to like, sounds so dumb. How do I say this? Would you go back to like the time where Jesus was on earth? Just okay. Different question. Fun. Would you go back?
Gonna offend a bunch of folks.
So would you go back to the time where like the Nephilim were here?
I think if I'm going to pick another alternate to this, I'm going to really expand our question into complete chaos and say that I'd rather go into I'd like to roll the dice on another dimension and see what happens with other life forms.
What if you were like a stick person? Like what if everyone in the next dimension are like people, but they're like stick people?
Oh man. It's like that Family Guy episode with the multiverse and there's all those different versions.
And same with Rick and Morty. I'm just thinking about all the weird versions of like humans.
I don't know. I'm just so fascinated. But for purposes of staying within this timeline and on this plane of consciousness, I think I'm so nosy about Egypt. The more I learn about it, the nosier I get, because I mean, we couldn't move boulders or we couldn't move rocks that size, that distance.
And with cut precision.
Yeah, I don't even know that our shit cuts that good.
Well, it's the same thing with the moon. We can't go back to the moon, even though.
Yeah.
Even though. Even though it
Clearly,
can't
I've been listening
technology.
to conspiracy theory content recently.
Hey,
but
I'm just asking the question. Just purely propose the question. If we could do it back then, why wouldn't we do it again? Anyway.
Or if I could go back and be one specific person, could I take myself, my consciousness back, but be in the body of George Bush Sr. and then just disclose all the secrets?
I guess you could.
That might be a fun one.
That would be fun.
See inside the Bush family, whenever weird shit happens there.
Oh my gosh. Interesting proposition, Kaylee. This was an interesting question. I like how we started off with like me just going like, let's put me 2 decades backwards. And now we're like interdimensional, pyramids, Bush's lifetime.
Of all the things that I thought you were going to say,
I
that was
know.
the least likely outcome in my mind.
I just get nervous because as much as I'm curious, like the shit could have been hard back then.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
it
true.
was.
Well, for a moment, I was going to say I wanted to go back as one of the original American tribes, but way back before Europeans came over here and plagued everybody with their germs. But then I was like, shit would have been real hard in the elements. But also, maybe that's more fulfilling because as we discussed last week when we were talking about heaven, I feel as though if you don't have anything hard, then nothing feels good. And just the simplicity, kind of what you were alluding to, but the simplicity of being more attuned with nature and having more of a respect for nature and
the village aspect of things.
Yes, the community aspect, living in more harmony with the earth, having maybe more respect for where we are in the universe in general. I don't know. I feel like some of those cultures would be really, really interesting and difficult, but not, gross is not the right word, not unsanitary. I mean, yes, there's not a modern day sanitation, but that where you're living in nature and you have like a normal amount of people.
Not like an unhealthy city. It's like.
Yes, not like post-industrial revolution where everybody's living on top of each other and breathing coal. I mean,
it's just going to say oil and coal and poop. Yeah, exactly.
And rats and garbage and dirty water. Yeah. That's where I am.
Well,
I think this might be a common theme of our generation of sort of a yearning for simplicity and getting back more in tune with the earth. I don't know how you do that with still paying bills and
the internet,
being somewhat responsible, but I don't know. Just learning about circadian rhythms and how light affects your hormone releases. I was like, well, no wonder so many of us are so fucked up. We've gotten so far away from the way that our bodies evolved.
And no one puts their feet in the ground anymore. Anyway, okay. We could go on forever.
I do. And then my feet are dirty. And then Jason says I have piggly wiggly feet. And you have to pronounce it like that. Piggly wiggly.
Piggly wiggly. Piggly. Yeah, 3 syllables, not 2.
Okay. Anyway, we've touched on numerous topics that I was not expecting, which I very much enjoyed. So if you're listening, tell us your go back in time era or forward in time or across dimension in time, and we'll see if we have anything in common. And also, please let me know if my hypothesis of millennials wanting to get back to our ancestral roots feels true, because it does to me.
I agree with that. Yay.
Well, until next week, me and my chicken mug.
I love you. Bye.